Yo, shalom, my people. It's your man's Quab.
It's your brother Eliyahu.
Man.
Today we pretty much about to touch on a basic topic that's going on in the Israelite family. It's basically coming into the truth, leaving whatever it is that you was dealing with before you grasp the understanding that you are Israelite. Whether it been dealing with a religion like Christianity or Islam, or whether you was in the world just doing whatever, just doing you, so to speak. Me personally, when I came into the understanding of that I was an Israelite, dealing with the Torah, dealing with the scriptures, getting the understanding of the laws, I was actually happy to find out that I was. I felt like I actually won the lotto to get my eyes awakened, or to get the veil removed off my eyes that was covering, that had me in darkness.
Right.
So basically my walk, when I first got into the truth, got into the understanding that I was an Israelite, it was like a relief. Like, wow, I want to find out everything possible and do everything to the best of my ability.
So, like the Ak is saying, like when we basically was in church, it was like they gave us a license to sin. You know what I mean? Do whatever it is you need to do, as long as the next Sunday come around, boom, you bring the tithes and offerings, and you know what I mean, and come up to the altar and say, you know what I mean, you just done a sacrifice and whatnot, so you felt good. But basically, the church was doing all types of madness, and we was participating in, you know what I mean? So we just gonna touch on a couple of these things. Like, one of the things that the church had us doing completely wrong, they had us eating pork, telling us it was okay, had the stuff in the church. So we just gonna touch on some of these things, you know, like, because we see a lot of our people actually still dealing with this stuff. So if you're still dealing with this and you've been doing this for a minute, it's like, wait a minute, these people really still Christians. You know what I'm saying? Just under the guise, you know what I'm saying, Christian Israelites, so to speak. Let's go to Leviticus, the 11th chapter right quick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the world has taught us that these things are really good things to eat. Like, you balling now if you eating lobster and shrimp and all of this stuff. That's like you living. So it's like something they teach you to strive for. You know what I mean? But it's madness. You got that? Leviticus 11:7.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you.
So this animal is unclean to us, but the church had us all doing this thing completely out of line. Read on.
Of their flesh of their flesh shall you not eat, and their carcass shall you not touch.
So when this thing dies, you shouldn't even touch it. This animal is that filthy that you shouldn't even touch his carcass. Read.
They are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales in the waters, in the seas.
Now these other fish, we ain't even go into these other things that's in the water. They call them shellfish. That's telling you off the rip that he don't have scales and fins. We're not to touch that. But let's show you something. So they'll say that in the church they teach us that you can eat this. It's cool. Go ahead. But we're going to show you. This is before the Messiah comes back. Let's go to Isaiah 66:15. So that's a complete farce that they teach us in there. So we got to put all of this madness down. You got it?
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15. For behold, the Most High will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury.
So we know that this haven't happened yet. He haven't come with his chariots like whirlwinds. This hath not popped yet. Read.
And his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh.
Read on.
And the slain of the Lord shall be many.
And the killed or the dead of the Most High going to be many. Read on.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves.
They that sanctify themselves, not sanctify or set apart from the Most High, but these people sanctify themselves. Read.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh.
Eating what?
Eating swine's flesh.
Eating swine's flesh. So these people right here is breaking the law. This is written up in the law. Read.
And the abomination and the mouse.
And the abomination and the mouse. Now what would that be? The abomination and the mouse. Who eat mice? The Chinese people at the Chinese restaurants. I don't know how many times we've seen all the pictures on Facebook of these people cooking dogs, skinning the rats, getting ready to fry them up and put them in there. I don't know how many times we've seen this stuff. So this is the abomination and the mouse. So when y'all eating this Chinese food, you messing with it. But you say, well, what about the shrimp? It's already unlawful. Read.
Shall be consumed together, saith the Most High.
Shall be consumed together. That means burned up, saith the Most High. Also, in the church, they do another thing with the pork and the catfish dinners. They selling that stuff, right? That's wrong. Let's go to John 2:15. John 2:15.
And when he had made a scourge of small cords.
Matter of fact, start before that. Start the verse before that.
2 and 4. John 2 and verse 14. And found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep.
That did what?
That sold oxen and sheep.
Matter of fact, jump to the verse before that. Wait a minute. Let me get it. Yeah, start at 13.
John chapter 2, verse 13. And the Hebrews' Passover was at hand, and the Messiah went up to Jerusalem.
Okay.
And found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and the changers of money sitting.
So right here, he's going to the Passover. And when he get there, he find them in the Most High's, for lack of a better word, find them in the church. They're selling in there. He found them selling oxen, sheep, and doves, and the charges of money sitting. Read on.
And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple.
So he made a whip. The Messiah made a whip and ran them up out the temple. Basically whooped them out the temple. Read on.
And the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables.
And turned the tables over. See that? He wasn't playing with nobody selling and stuff in the temple. He turned the tables over. He made a whip and whooped them up out of there. Go ahead.
And said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence. Make not my father's house a house of merchandise.
Make not my father's house a house of merchandise. So when you see all these people in these churches selling CDs, tapes, and all of this madness, knowing when he get back, it's not going to be pretty for you. It ain't going to be pretty for you. Now the other thing that we have going on is traditions. We know we shouldn't be messing with traditions, but a lot of our people are still messing with the traditions of man. Matter of fact, let's go to Jeremiah 10. So when we come out of the church, all of this garbage like this, we realize it has nothing to do with the scripture. It has nothing to do with Hamashiach. So it's a tradition. Go ahead, read.
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Most High speak unto you, O house of Israel. Thus says the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen.
Don't do what the heathens do. Whatever these other nations do, y'all don't do it. Read.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain.
For the customs of the people are vain. So everything these other nations do, it's all in vanity. It's all vain. It don't profit you nothing. It's all vain and vanity. Read on.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest. Now we know when people cut trees out of the forest, what tradition this goes with. But let's read further and see.
The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold.
They deck it with silver and with gold. Again, we know when they do this. Today in modern times, they don't got the real silver and real gold, but they got them little tassel joints that go on there, and with the bulbs and all that stuff and the lights all over it.
The ornaments.
Ornaments, and people don't even really get, like, what in the world am I doing? I'm bowing down to a tree and I'm giving it gifts. I clean the living room out and move all the stuff out the way and give the tree its own special light. But nobody don't get it. Like, where does this come from? What does this have to do with the Messiah being born?
And it tells us nowhere in Scripture where we should be doing this.
Right here is telling us
Not to
opposite.
do this.
Flat out it says, go not into the ways. Don't do what these people do. Finish it out.
They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree.
Upright as the palm tree. That's what they had back then, like the palm tree. But then we got this so-called evergreen tree. Now we're going to do a lesson on this thing a little bit later and show y'all exactly what this tree really, really represents. Go ahead.
They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
So they can't do evil or they can't do good. Now this is where Santa Claus would come in at in the modern day times. This is where he would come in at. They say he knows whether you've been good or bad or evil or good. So he's going to put pepper in your eye. But you don't got to be afraid of him. You can't, but see, they just merged the two things in now. That's what this really talking about. But again, we're going to do a lesson to show you exactly what that tree that you got in your house really, really mean. Go to Colossians 2 and 8. Colossians 2 and 8.
Colossians chapter 2 verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Through philosophy and vain deceit. Again, that's this vain, that vanity again. All the way in the new covenant, we still talking about this vanity and vainness. Read on.
After the tradition of men.
After what?
After the tradition of men.
After the tradition of men. Read.
After the rudiments of the world.
After the rudiments of physical